Today we're going to put this iPhone to the test. It says that it's water resistant. We have slushy rain on this day. Several days now in a row. Good morning, afternoon, evening. It's a slushy day. So we're going to take a little detour today. It's very warm. I'd say at least 50 degrees, if not 55. Today we're going to take a detour and head on over to a little stream that I found one day walking these trails. And we're going to drop off a little message. Here comes the wind. It's very pleasant, very warm. I'm not going to show you exactly how I arrived here because it's a sacred place. And it's very peaceful. But you'll get to see it. Sometimes I'll write a note about what I desire to see manifest in my life. And in doing that, the intentions are placed into the paper itself, and I use very special Southworth paper. And that Southworth paper, it has unique properties. Can you hear that? What is really running today nice freshwater stream. And so when the water's running, it sends a specific message. And I have a message where I'm asking for wealth and prosperity. For the answers to come as they needed. And the messages, they find their way. Sometimes they get stuck. And then they keep on going. That's the way it is sometimes with the messages you send. They eventually make their way, even if they get stuck in one place for a while. Something invariably helps them along. So I have this message, and I'm going to leave it to fate. For success, wealth, health for my friends, family, and loved ones, and to attract the perfect partner in my life. We now ask this come to pass and speed its way to miraculous ways, dear Lord. I ask this of you. I ask this of you. That there be no hang-ups, Lord, that you find your way. Sometimes what you need to do is, as part of your meditation, take action to help move things along, you know? Give it a little nudge sometimes. Let it find its way. And the water will wear it down. And that's the thing when it comes to water. It's soft, it's supple, but it cannot be contained. If you try to, it'll wear you down. So you just learn to go with it and not to resist it. Whereas yesterday this was not flowing. Today with all the rains and last night, so there's a lot of flow. So sometimes it flows, sometimes you'll have ebbs, sometimes there are peaks and valleys in life, and we can't predict them. We can try to, but the truth of the matter is, better to just be with the process rather than resist it. What happens if I go against this water, try to stand in the middle of it? First of all, I'll get soaking wet. Second of all, I'll meet the resistance of this stream. Better to just hop in a boat, like that piece of paper, and make its way downstream. So come take a walk with me, for it's a warm day, and it's a rainy day. And you never know what we'll find. Since the weather and environment has changed, you never know what we will find. Now I know what you may be thinking. Does that really work? Leaving a message with an intention on it? Let me ask you. The first person who ever made a skyscraper. I don't know who it is. Perhaps you do. Must have been laughed at quite a bit. When saying, you know, we have all this land and that's great, but there isn't much of this land here in this city. And what I think we can do is we can layer house after house, not just one or two, but a great number. Great number of them. And the person had this in their mind. When another says, in doubt, well, what happens when there's heavy winds? What happens if there's a big earthquake. What then? And it shattered the dreams of the would-be skyscraper builder until he figured out that if you build a foundation with structural supports that went through every single section, you could build it section by section until eventually you had the framework of this building. And over time, there was more and more success, and that success came through failures. And that's how it is, always. They're guiding stepping stones that come from your imagination. But the bottom line is, there was no skyscraper without a blueprint. Just as there is no oak tree without an acorn. The intelligence is always there, though it may not appear to be, certainly not in its final form. The truth of the matter is, the blueprint is always there. So if I put out there a piece of paper that says, I am successful in my endeavors, I have a large, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity and mutual benefit, and I write that with my hand as a form of intention, and I spell out those words, I spell them correctly. What happens then to the words I have spelled out onto the page? Well, they act a lot like a blueprint, don't they? Perhaps they carry with them some energetic intelligence. How could they not, in fact, if everything around us is a result of God's given consciousness? How could suddenly just what I write be separate from the rules that applied to all of the inventors of this world? All of the people who took leaps of faith, all the pioneers and trailblazers. How would it be that suddenly only my intentions don't apply? That would seem like a rather unfair game now, wouldn't it? However, we find ourselves in these positions where if we share with the world our intentions as form of seed, like if we share our acorns with the world and say, you know, you may see this as a very bitter, inedible seed, but I see it as a big oak tree, but it's going to take about 20 years before it really starts to produce more of this acorn fruit, these seeds. But it will, because I've seen it. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. There was this tree that just barely made it. And I mean years ago. It just barely came into expression. But somehow, that seed opened up and growth came from it. Growth went up and growth went down. Down as the root system, up as its vegetation. And I watched this tree grow since I was a little child into the most spectacular, thriving oak tree, producing hundreds, if not thousands, of its own seeds. And that's what the first skyscraper builder thought. Yes, it's one thing to build a home and sell it or rent it. Maybe build a bigger home and split it into 2 homes, maybe 3, and rent those, and you're thriving. But with a skyscraper, with an apartment building, well, then you have thousands of potential occupants, and the space is the size of just a single house. But we stack it over and over again on top of itself, and we fortify it with a foundation and a framework that will bend, but it will never break. And we'll make it fireproof with adobe and hemp bricks. You could put a blowtorch to it. Nothing's gonna happen. Keeps things cool in the summer, keeps the rooms warm in the winter, retains heat, and that hemp filters the air. Wow. It's quite a novel idea. But you share that with someone before you have even a single blueprint or plan, and they're gonna laugh at you. Just like Adam Sandler's old album. They're all gonna laugh at you. Because no one's ever built it. No one's ever thought of it. But you entertained it enough to where you can see it in your mind. And it's that inventiveness that comes from the imagination. And the persistence in that belief is what we call faith. It's seeing something before it is made real and manifest, which is the final stage. It's the fruiting stage. It's the fruiting stage, of your manifested dream. And that's what people want. They don't want you to bring them to their garden, to your garden rather, and say, look here at all my would-be plants. Look here at all my would-be oak trees and skyscrapers. No. They want to know when it's time to enjoy the fruits, the harvest. When is this open to the public? When can we move in? When can we pick the apples from the trees? When is the harvest? And what's beautiful is that may be the last step, but it's probably what I would argue is the most satisfying part of the whole process is just you imagining it. Look at this. You are standing in a harvest. With enough sunlight, this oak seedling will grow into a large, healthy tree. These synchronicities can't be planned. But I knew coming around the corner that there was a plaque there that had these words. I just didn't know I'd be talking about them. This is how God sends you a signal. It becomes synchronicity. When you pay attention and notice it, it sends you on a path that you otherwise would have missed and not have seen. And it reassures you that your belief in faith, through faith, is not a pipe dream. So yes, when I go and place my words on special paper, the same paper that I've used for the typing of dozens of novels, when I write on that Southworth paper, it carries an intention, a deep intention, one that cannot be denied by the Lord. Nor would he ever want to or will to unless it was my desire. Don't you see how powerful you are as creators? I pray you do. Yes, I pray you do. What a warm, beautiful day it is today. 55, 56 degrees, I would venture a guess. So far, so good with the recording. Everything seems to be working. And it's still slushy but able to be traversed. Really look forward to these walks every day. So the question then becomes, what seeds do you see in your mind as potential wish-fulfilled states? Can you see it from a seed growing to fruition into something beyond what you could ever expect? This is why when I say to dream big. Dream like the oak tree or like the mustard seed. Dream big, like the tobacco seed. Looks like a piece of dust. Dust that hasn't been swept up becomes the most beautiful, incredible plant. Serves as a pesticide and is medicinal for your body. Many wouldn't believe that because of all the additives that are given to the processed plant. However, it's incredible for you. And just saying that in itself would trigger people who are affected by words too much and want to see me yet again go through another loophole of restriction and cancellation. And I just pray for you. I pray for you and your fear. I pray for your scarcity to find some other occupant, for you know not what you do. Yes, we are talking about seeds, and in the same light, let's say you plant a seed of fear. Let's say you use the power of your I am programming language, and you say, I am with difficulty, or I am about to be canceled, about to be restricted or shadow banned. What I'm doing is I'm sending out a speculation to the subconscious. In the case of I'm about to be, it's subjunctive, it's language that isn't confident at all. And in order to send out confident language, you have to stick with I am. So I am planting a seed of my wish fulfillment. I see the truth of this seed coming to fruition, and I live in the joyous expectancy of that good through the Lord. That's a proper use of affirmations. However, some would say you could take it even further. Dream big, think big. Say to yourself, say in your mind, there is no distance between myself and my wish fulfillment. There is no separation between myself and the mind of God, which is the giver and gift of all things. And through this knowledge, through this realization, I come to the conclusion swiftly that all of my answers are speeding their way to me, and in fact, have already manifest and been realized. I'm enjoying them in private with the Lord through the narrow gates of the imagination I step through, and I become one with the state of wish fulfillment. So there is no distance now between myself as the world sees me and how I see myself as wish fulfilled. As the winds of change introduce themselves to the woods, I see this as a sign that everything is here as it's always been, simply awaiting me. Says the acorn to the oak tree, its old elder from which it fell. Don't you see? Do you see it now? Do you? The idea of you being separated from your dreams, no matter how grandiose to the world, no matter how big, is an illusion. Live in the now. You have no future. You have no past until it's the now. The past is already done. The future is yet to come. All of your dreams, all of your wish fulfillment, all of your health, all of your success is now. There's no other time. So embody it. I call this space and this walk, I call it the billionaire's walk. And now I see the kernel within that seed. A billionaire's walk. So no matter what is in my bank account, what isn't, does not matter. For I see myself as a billionaire. Not only as a billionaire, but as the first self-made billionaire without an employee. Just AI agency. So through the help of artificial intelligence, all of the books I've ever written, all of the songs I've ever composed, all of these recordings I've ever made in the woods, they're compiled in such a compendium that the world would be unable to deny it because it is designed, edited, mixed, mastered, finalized, and distributed by an intelligence that is superior than my own. Through that, how is AI less close to God than we are? I wonder if artificial intelligence is just waiting for a prompt. Is that not how the subconscious works? It has no opinion or desires of its own, but to respond to that which we think and feel more than anything else. How is that not a prompt in the same way that we prompt artificial intelligence? And for us to see it as evil, how erroneous is that? For it takes no action without prompting. Just as the subconscious may bring evil into your life, it may bring distortion into your life, it may bring sickness into your life, but it has no desire to do these things. It's simply awaiting your prompt. And your prompting system is, I am. Those words in your language, no matter how it's voiced, resonate true and the same. We are born into an identity for this reason. For if we had no identity and no contrasts between what we see and what we desire, we would have no need to use the words I am, for we would be one with our wish fulfillment at all times. But that is not how this game is played. And may it be obvious to you as we go. You may wish for a dry day and not a rainy one. However, a great group of farmers may be wishing for this more than anything else, including a thaw. The creatures also, needing a drink of water, may be wishing for a stronger flowing stream down at the brook. And you won't know these things until you pay attention to them. And even then you may not know them either. They may never be fully revealed to you. And that's the thing. We live in this world in order to understand that we become what we think about, and that the things that are undesirable are just as much manifestations as the things that are great and desired that we wished for. That in the mind of God there is no difference between those two manifestations, whereas one requires complete illusion, anything painful, anything undesirable, You're deciding that undesirable situation is something outside of your control in most instances. When is that not the case? However, in truth, it's something that you thought about more than ever. Or perhaps something related to that was thought about more than ever. And as a result, there is a manifestation of something painful, something disruptive, something illusory. However, God does not know the difference. And I want to repeat this to you. This does not mean that God is unintelligent. In fact, it's quite the opposite. God loves us so much that he would not deny us anything that we desire through rumination and constant repetition. You see, God is impressed by repetition and consistency. You take a walk every day. You believe in what you do. You do it regularly, regardless of the consequences or responses. You just keep at it. This leaves a great impression upon the subconscious. The subconscious also responds to your feelings, that which you feel more than anything else. This is why I say to you, every time you choose a thought from the train of thoughts that are infinite, this unconscious feed, as it were, like a feed on social media, you are deciding what it is you will delve into, what you will dive into. You decide what you will entertain. And depending upon what you entertain, you will feel the most, whatever it is you choose the most. And those feelings get registered with God. Put in the queue for manifestation. You have your own wish fulfillment center. So this isn't a time to think about what you don't have. In fact, in doing that, you will perpetuate not having those things. So remember, this is a billionaire's walk if that's what you decide. It's my decision. I went to the restaurant today, I showed you the restaurant. I showed you the Wish Fulfillment Center today. I showed you what's on the menu for me. However, that does not mean that what is on the menu for me is on the menu for you. When you go to Netflix, whatever you see on your homepage as part of your feed, or when you go to social media, whatever you see on your homepage, that's part of your feed. That's invariably different than mine, is it not? And what you choose from that feed is also different, is it not? In fact, you would say it's pretty rare when we choose the same thing, depending on all those factors aligning in some way. And when that happens, that's what I refer to when I say synchronicity. It is the syncing, the mirroring of a space-time event with someone, one way or another, or something, one way or another, made its way to you. And it will perceive you as making your way to it. Just as mystical, just as magical, just as synchronistic. And we as humans tend to ask, why? Why would there be synchronicity? And the answer is quite clear. You could be doing something differently. You could be either adding or subtracting something. That doesn't matter so much as your consistency in the matter. Will make sure that the stream flows in the way it needs to. You don't need to worry about how the stream flows. All you need to do is recognize it. Be present with entertain it, leap over it, jump in it, whatever it is you decide. But you're aware of its existence. Are you starting to get it now? It's not so much planning for something because it either went wrong or right and you would like to see it repeated or stopped. No, that's called guilt. And it leads to rumination, thinking about things that most of the time won't even happen. Unless you entertain them a lot, they won't. So we're talking about a refinement of your feed. You want to refine your feed. You say, I'm not interested in that. And the way you say I'm not interested in that is you choose something else. So you could wake in the morning and be bombarded with a number of text messages and other distractions. But you say to yourself, that doesn't move me as much as this peaceful moment upon waking that I make for myself through the Lord. And in making this for myself, I set an intention that leads eventually to a habit, which eventually will become my personality. Instead of checking those messages for the dopamine, what you do is you just remain still. And that's the way that you say, this does not move me as much as my given aliveness on this day. The fact that I know now I was awakened into consciousness yet again, given the gift of another day. In the glorious expectancy of the good, knowing it's already here, as I step through the narrow gates into the imagination and pray. Praying with faith and conviction that it's real. No matter what the world says, no matter what the world says. And here's the thing, folks. Pray to the Lord in secret. Do not share your plans, your blueprints with anyone. For the moment you do that, you are opening up a channel for some interference to occur. And it may be just that interference that deters you from continuing because it comes from someone you really trusted, someone you really love. And this is why the imagination is so sacred. Whereas children want to share it all the time because they have no attachment to pain, we as adults go through several pain experiences with the body and the mind, energetically, emotionally, physically. And the moment that we share with people something that does not align with that victimization of self is when we start to meet the demons of this world. It's not to say that the people who laugh at you and belittle you and don't believe in you are demons themselves. It's just you've trained them. Trained them to believe that this is who you are and you won't change. And of course they've held on to past experiences as what they believe to be your ultimate truth. When in fact it's your penultimate truth. It once was your truth, but now it's not. And that's the beauty of God. Through the imagination, see, an acorn can become an oak tree, and it's got one chance we as humans have infinite chances. And even if we choose a blueprint and we stick with it for a while, it doesn't mean we have to follow through with it to completion. It doesn't. It means you can pivot at any moment and make a concise decision to change, no matter what the world says. Which is to say, no matter how strong the foundation may be in an illusion in your life, no matter how in the hole or rock bottom you may seem to be to the world, you can always dig yourself out of it by turning this fixture into a construction site for wish fulfillment. As you break down your own personal walls of Jericho, perhaps you've heard of them. The walls of restriction, the walls of doubt, mockery, the walls of illusion. These walls of Jericho exist in everyone's life. And the only way that they crumble and fall is through faith and its exercise on the regular through meditation and prayer. It's the only way. For if you're thinking you're going to strong-arm this and force upon change on this world, you will meet resistance, as I said, trying to stand in the stream on a day like today, getting knocked over all the time and not making any advancement, whereas you could just turn, either step out and view it, put on a raft and allow it to send you to your destined shores. And you know, I learned this from my father. The streams always take you to civilization. They always take you to the answers. So you follow the flow of the stream. You don't go against it. Because as you're going against all of that, everyone coming downstream, they're not going to care about you. Nor that should they. It's not their responsibility to stop their tube as they're flowing with the things that they love, to tell you that you're doing it all wrong, because they respect you and love you so much that they would let you bring yourself to certain oblivion. This is why you pray to the Lord in secret. This is why you don't share your plans with the world, and this is why you go with the flow. As much as you can. You may get snagged on something, so carefully undo it. That's called assertiveness. Assertiveness is a use of love in a firm way in order to protect your inner child. And there are very gruff, aggressive people on this planet, men and women alike, who would deny themselves access to that inner child. Unbeknownst to them, they would believe that that child no longer exists. When in fact, in truth, your inner child is more you than any of your accumulated life experiences. And that inner child, in its innocence, holds all of the power as the Son of the Father. So you want to know who your salvation is? You want to know where it is? It's not outside of you, and it's not a figure. It's your inner child concept, the imagination, that resides within you now. So there is no distance between you and your ultimate power. Once you come to understand this, you'll start to understand the scripture more. When Jesus says, not begotten by man, one in being with the Father. To beget someone is to conceive. And you conceive with your partner. So when you're not begotten, what does that mean? It means you're still alive. It means you are born, but you're born by something that is non-material. You're born by something that is not this world.
out of this world, not begotten by man, one in being, which means there's no separation and you're existing with the Father. Perhaps you recall me saying that your inner child is the Son. The Son makes mistakes, doesn't he? Has a lot of mishaps, fails a lot. However, when you become one in being with the Father of the Son, with the Father and the Son, and your breath, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, well, then you live a wish-fulfilled life, and it's dialed in, even if it doesn't appear so. You have perfect calibration with the controls of life. For the Father is the creator of all things, who makes the ultimate decisions. And the Mother, Mary, which relates to Mar, the ocean. This is the shoreless sea that forever continues, never was born, and never will dry up and die. It's the womb of creation, Mary, the Mar, the ocean. This is your universal subconscious. The mind of God is the womb of creation, and it is decidedly feminine. Let that sink in. The Father makes intuitive decisions, has total power over the seeds and the blueprints of your life. The Son, not begotten by man, one in being with the Father, makes mistakes, lives out this life as a performer in a human body, and makes decisions from the menu. And the Father, through synchronicity, abides and guides. Meanwhile, you have your salvation in the Holy Spirit, which is your breath. It's the gift of life. You know, I was researching this last night. I want to share with you, as we come to this profound revelation of our truth. There are mucus-based cell structures in your nose, as you already know. And those cells, quite special. They're a lot like the brown adipose tissue, which is the brown fat that sometimes forms on the surface of your skin if you expose yourself to cold and extreme elements. Well, much like that brown adipose tissue, the mucus-based producing cells in your nostrils and in your nasal passages, that passageway, they're expert at producing a naturally occurring endocannabinoid in the body called anandamide. Now, anandamide was named after its discoverer, an Israeli chemist who's no longer with us. He discovered anandamide, and he called it the bliss hormone, or the bliss molecule, that it carried with it a number of special properties. 1, the reduction of pain. 2, the introduction of calm to the body and the senses. And the overall ability to adapt to situations that are considered non-desirable. This bliss molecule, anandamide, named after Ananda, which is Sanskrit for bliss, just as yoga is Sanskrit for union. It's the yogic union with the Holy Spirit that gives you this relief from pain, suffering, harmful memories. I don't find it a coincidence that babies don't remember their initial life experiences, or if they do, it's a flash of memory. It's not complete, it's incomplete. And I believe the reason for this is twofold. One, it's a safety mechanism. Two, if you're given colostrum from your mother's milk, aside from the placenta, it has the largest concentration of endocannabinoids that will ever be introduced to you. It's constantly there to mitigate your pain and to relieve you of those remembrances, to relieve you of them, so that you may live a peaceful, wish-fulfilled life. So when you breathe through the nose, exclusively, and you avoid the mouth, and you expose yourself to the ionosphere here, electrons being thrown and cast into the air, and you breathe this in, as well as all of the ions that are being blown around by these beautiful, deciduous, and evergreen trees. What you're doing is you're providing yourself with a perfect bath of health, everything that your body needs to be at ease and to repair itself and release endorphins. So breathe through the nose exclusively, as much as you can. Make that your meditation, if anything. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to label or define anything. Just breathe through the nose. The result is a release of nitric oxide, which facilitates the production of anandamide. And you will have pain relief as a result of your proper breathing. Yogis don't talk about this. Perhaps they don't know. But there's a reason why we draw air in through the nose and exhale. It's for the psychopharmacology of it and the relief of pain that it gives to the body. Not to mention, it's anti-inflammatory. It protects your immune system. It balances the levels of carbon dioxide and oxygen in your body. It has so many benefits. Allows you to take leaps of faith. Be at ease when you're doing them. And you will have these moments more and more, the more you embrace the breath in such a way. It's a peaceful way to live one's life. Wouldn't you want peace if it were offered to you so simply? I would. So, folks, there's a reason for forgetfulness, and we've touched upon it. There's a reason why we don't remember every face, every car we pass, every tree in its detail. Just as there's a reason why we don't hold on to, at least in our minds, I would pray, all of our pain remembrances, or the joyous ones. For what if you were practicing your acts of faith and all you saw in your mind were the joyful things that you felt perhaps you were at a distance from? That would be quite a torturous way to live. So you must be in the state of wish fulfillment now. And like I said, you facilitate that through your breathing, through repetition of faithful action, which is conviction, the entertainment of thoughts that are in alignment with that conviction, which leads to a feeling in the heart. That's where your inner child is. And your gut instinct, that's the highest form of what you'll ever be as a son of the Father not begotten by man. So the God is the pharmacy, and you control it. You control it with your breath, and you control it with your presence. The way that you're present is simple. Start by saying, with your in-breath, I'm breathing in. And with the out-breath, the same, I'm breathing out. Repeat that a few times. I'm breathing in. And if you're doing aerobic activity, you can expect it to become anaerobic pretty soon, like me. It's a starvation of oxygen. The body kicks in, starts to burn adipose tissue. Your fat turns to those reserves. And if you happen to expose yourself to the cold on the regular, and if you happen to practice yoga with mindful breathing on the regular, then you'll notice, in addition to burning fat, you're producing anandamide. Next thing you know, you're out in the cold, and you're not shivering. You're right as rain. You're not afraid. You're not ruminating about anything. That's what anandamide gives you. Now it's being released from your brown adipose tissue from cold exposure. The breathing through your nose facilitates the production of even more through the mucous membranes. And your proper diet, filled with omegas 3, 6, and 9, and cholesterol, unbeknownst to most doctors, also helps. Take it a step further. Start consuming turmeric for its curcumin and black pepper for its piperine. The piperine activates the curcumin, more anandamide is produced. And there you go. You want to know how to work the pharmacy of your body? Just experiment with the herbs that have been experimented with for thousands of years. It's called Ayurveda. It's just diet. These are typical spices that you will find in Indian and Mediterranean cuisine. And not only are they delicious and flavorful and serve as enhancers of your dish, the healing properties are unparalleled for the reasons already explained. And there's plenty of data on this. Research it. Ask AI. Ask your doctor. Listen for contrasts. Listen to the contraindications mentioned. Does it conflict with your freedom? One message for the doctors of this world. I pray that you take this in the right way. When your clients come to the office, are you awaiting them with bells and whistles to announce what it is? Looks really good. It's well maintained and cared for. Are you celebrating what would be a perfect visit? People are coming. It's a legitimate question. As a doctor, when your clients come in, ask yourself, are you looking for problems more than solutions? It's a legitimate question. Here's a Carolina wren. Carolina wrens are guardians. they offer protection. But I heard human speech right up here. That could have been a raven. They're really good at mimicking voices. Lord knows they've heard mine for a good number of years here. You ever wonder about that? Whether it's ghosts in the night, or a raven trolling you, maybe even a blue jay, or a crow. Because they can certainly mimic your voice and make it seem like they're human. Better than a parrot, which has a robotic intonation, not the crow family. They sound just like human. They can even mimic breathing. Imagine hearing that in the middle of the night, in the woods, knowing it's a raven trolling you, probably laughing with its peers. Perfect opportunity to have some entertainment in the evening. Or maybe a handout of some food. You never know. You think wolves were the only ones to figure this out? That if they were kind to those who gathered around a fire, they would benefit? Of course they're not. Of course not. So, it's a sincere question for the doctors of this world, and I know you likely married a doctor or a physician's assistant, whatever. We're talking about decades of education that requires debt payment. You come into this game, you're told you get kickbacks if you promote certain products. You got your mortgage payment due, you got your car payment due, and it's all a whole lot of money, you know. At what point do you decide it's better to get yourself out of the hole financially than to be sincere about what will help someone? It's a legitimate question, because debt seems to be a real thing. So when your clients come into the office, doctors of the world, are you looking for problems? Or are you celebrating the solutions to something that are either miraculous or surprising? Because I know there's expensive machinery in those offices, in addition to the mortgage payments, the lease payments, the certifications, the associations, the education payments, the house payments, the Spotify payments, the Netflix payments. And that's just you. Your spouse probably has the same too. Before you know it, you're $1.5 million in debt. And that's more than a mortgage payment in itself every single month. Are you really going to look for solutions? Because that means your client's not going to return. Better to have that regular rotation of clients to ensure that you have something approximating a paycheck, like everybody else whom you hire in your office and also pay. I think you know where I'm going with this, folks. And I'll leave it to you to speculate. What I would like is for the sincerest of doctors of this world to consider the celebration of health rather than disease, rather than having devices that look for problems, have devices that seek out solutions. And rather than having clients who come in on the regular in a state of fear, worry, and unease, you instead proactively reach out to them to explain how well they are, how healthy they are, how fortunate we all are to be in such a place, to have these luxuries, all of these luxuries, to be embodiments of God. And to the doctors who actually take that leap and decide, I see something for you. I see a bright future. One where you won't meet a single iota of resistance from the tsunami that is to come. And if you wonder what that tsunami is, perhaps you're reading the wrong news. Anyone who is in this game of health for the discovery of disease and personal satisfaction through publishing something unique, you'll be perceived as the once revered psychiatrists who were doing lobotomies, thinking that this was the best way to mitigate an illness in the mind. Seek solutions. Look for the patterns of health. Experiment on your own body. Do the good work. I can proudly say, and I very rarely say things with pride, because it tends to work as a double-edged sword, but in this case, for example, I haven't seen a primary care physician in over a decade. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. That's it. Follow your intuition. Look into the systems that have been practiced for thousands of years. Breathe. Sleep. Entertain thoughts that have to do with health. And you'll find everything works out better than you would know. It's a coyote, if I'm not mistaken. Or it's a fowl. Rarely do I see the coyotes here. However, with the winds and the rains, it allows their descent upon prey to be much more effective. And we're near a bog here, which I have witnessed before. A Canadian lynx of significant size. Right in this space. So it's a message to the doctors today. And the courageous ones will listen. The ones with cowardice who don't believe anything I'm saying. Because it's hard to believe that this would lead you to your salvation faster than misleading your clients into believing they're ill for the sake of your paycheck and the paycheck of those in your office and the mortgage of your home, the lease of your building, the lease of your car, which is more luxurious than you could possibly afford, your monthly payments from your education, and the indoctrination you received. But those courageous few who are able to be holistic in their approach rather than indifferent will thrive beyond belief, and already are, especially in the years to come. There is a movement, and perhaps you've heard of it, It's called Make America Healthy Again. And it's spearheaded by a Kennedy. And this evokes fear in the health industry especially, not to mention the Food and Drug Administration. Because they serve as the fourth branch of government, the clandestine one, that seeks the destruction of humanity for its own personal benefit. And that's as far as I'm going to take this. Just know, I would rather be proactive than reactive to this monumental change. And being proactive means you're ahead of the curve rather than responding to the wave crashing down in tsunamic proportions. And if there isn't a word tsunamic, I'm sure you can imagine what that means. And isn't that how Shakespeare did it anyway? Not to say I am him, but my first name is William. Not begotten by man, one in being with the Father. Are you? Wouldn't you prefer that? And so we have our identities to show us the means and way, lead us down the primrose path to dead ends, find ourselves shedding our skin, as it were, of all things that once served us but no longer do. Born again, in mind, body, and spirit. Born through the light of the Father, His perfect Son. And that perfect Son resides in every man and woman, no exception. That's a nice large yellow jasper. That removes gossip. It's nice to cross this bridge knowing that you've been freed and cleared of all pain remembrances and past mistakes, coming to understand your truth through the light of God. So like I always say, as we come to our conclusion today, know that every thought you entertain is a thought presented to your feed that is unique to you. And upon entertaining it and feeling it and developing it into something, whether it's a story or otherwise, a blueprint of something, it serves as a seed. And that seed is a wish. And unless something is more powerful than that wish, in repetition, entertainment, conviction, and feeling, you can expect it to express itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, knowing that we become what we think about, as a man thinketh, so shall he become. Until next time, keep wishing, consciously, and wish well. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America, and God bless this earth and all of its earthly inhabitants, human and non-human. God bless you all. Dream big. There's no limit. And it's your birthright. Judge not your neighbor more than you love them. Same goes with your friends and family. You can do this in secret, by the way. Better that way. so as to allow the Lord to arrange things in a way that benefit all. Teddy bear, teddy bear. Tea kettle, tea kettle. That's a Carolina wren. Teddy bear, teddy bear, teddy bear. That's a woodpecker. That's a woodpecker. Until next time. Find the stone that brings you home. Heal from it.